Oh. Oh, hello. Oh, fancy seeing you all here. Finishing up, well, I'm not finishing up Warbots yet. I got about 5 recording sessions left of Warbots. And generally, my recording sessions, since this is part time, is about 2 to 3 hours a day. And so I'm here in the booth. I actually just got set up. So you're going to hang out with me working a little bit. So, warts and all, as I say. And focus. Focus. All right. I'm going to be doing possibly a little bit of ADR for a movie. I'm going to be the voice of a ghost, so I'm pretty excited about it. So I had to get my Sennheiser Force MKE MKH MKE MKH 416 set up here. So a little bit of harsh light here so you can see it. Oh, it's bright. So I got set up because normally I have this set up for audiobooks. That's kind of the main thing I'm doing. But I needed to get this set up so when I start doing kind of more voice work that I want to start doing, I just haven't put myself out there as much lately. I want to be able to do both, so I finally got that wired up and working, so I can swap mics now whenever I need to, which was a pain in the butt. I had to do some pickups for a commercial that I did, and I had to take the 416 here, plug it in here, and it was just, and then the mic placement wasn't. I don't want to touch this mic. I want my audiobook mic to just be here. I don't want to touch it. So now I'm good to go. So I'll probably be putting myself out there a little bit for some commercial work here and there. We'll see how it goes. One thing I have been struggling with, and if you're new to this business, I am in no means an expert. I'm just kind of figuring this out as I go. And since I'm doing it part-time, it's taking baby steps and kind of getting comfortable in my skin and actually calling myself like an audiobook narrator. But my biggest hurdle lately has been getting stuck on these goddamn Amazon reviews. Because when we get the book done, we send out all these codes to all these people to review it. You'll get like good reviews to just total shit reviews. And my personality type, I think this goes for a lot of creative people, is you can kind of get a bunch of good reviews, but you focus on one negative. And I've been doing that a little too much. That's been kind of the hurdle, the thing I've been kind of working through with my personality type and the way I obsess over things. And so I had a little slap on the hand from a fellow audiobook narrator, and I really appreciate the narrating community and kind of the honesty and the accountability that community offers if you're willing to listen and pivot and turn. So anyway, that's one of the lessons I learned. So, really, like, what I'm trying to do, I guess, is glean some information from reviews on how to get better. I probably should work with a coach more to figure out, where my problem points are and where I should navigate to get better. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to focus my energy on getting a little more coaching and just not really worrying about the reviews. I can read them and anything negative, because most of it's positive. I'm just going to, if it's helpful, if it's like a constructive criticism, great. All for it. I will take those into account and everything. But it's the weird, like, reviews that are like, yeah, I didn't like the narrator. Book was okay. Book was great. Didn't like the narrator. Oh, okay. Well, what didn't you like? What can I do to improve? Starts going around in my head. So there can be one shit review, and then the rest are great, and I focus on the one shit review. I think that's kind of human nature, but so learn from me. If you're new, if you're a veteran, you're going, yeah, dumbass, duh. So, all right, enough of my rambling here. I'm going to get back into Warbots. I'm finally on chapter 20. There's 25 chapters. I got 6 chapters left. Ugh. It's always good to kind of start ramping down towards the end and getting a book done. And this book has been, it's been a challenge, but it's been one of those good challenges. And one of those challenges, I think that at first, I kind of had a little panic attack, because I think what I learned was my prep wasn't adequate. And there's a lot of Middle Eastern names, a lot of military jargon that I just wasn't familiar with. And like midnight one night, I had this panic attack after trying to work through a chapter. And I should have just gone to bed. I should have got some rest and hit it the next day. But I made it through the panic attack, and here we are towards the end. So it's good. And of course, this, what I'm about to narrate, has a shit ton of Middle Eastern names. Oh, man. I may not do a live reading on this one. Excuse me. Let's see here. What do we got? We got Mahmud. We got Hassan. It's not Kuwait Tapton. It's Kuwait Tapton. I'll look it up. Oh, fuck it. I'll do it. Baluchistan, Zahidan, Kuwait Tapton. What does I got over here? Kuwait Tapton. I keep a tab of pronunciations I kind of run across, and I'm always going back to it. I'm always going back to this stupid one. Kuwait Tapton. So it's in my head, in my ears. I got it on the thing. I got a whole bunch. I got Majid, Tehran. I even for a little bit met with through Skype, kind of it was I guess a voiceover artist, and also she has a background with in the Middle East, and was able to help me with some problematic things that I was kind of dealing with. So, anyway, let's see. I'll just do a couple pages here, and then I'll just call it a day for this little YouTube thing. I don't know. I'm so weird about YouTube. I'm always like, do I want to put myself out there? But maybe you're starting out and you want to kind of see the struggles of someone just doing this, and maybe it'll help somebody. I don't know. I am not an expert. I'm not giving out advice other than learn from people who've been in the business for a long time, get coaching, and listen. When somebody has not an opinion but advice for you, take it. If somebody gives you kind of a harsh little piece of tough love, take it. Take it, pivot, move on. If you're starting this out, it's the biggest thing you can do is accept the knowledge of all these people around that have been doing it. And, that's really all I can do. A few years ago, I probably would have had a chip on my shoulder and would have been like, oh, yeah, fuck off. I know what I'm doing. I blah, 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 blah. I watched YouTube videos. I know how to do this. No, learn from the people who are actually doing this for a living so that one day you can do this for a living. I would like to do this for a living someday. It may be something I retire into, but it's definitely something that I'm learning as much as I can, slowly progressing through these books, doing this part-time, and I'm hoping it all works out. But yeah, the biggest thing is to not focus on reviews unless they're consistent. If they're saying, hey, the mic sounds like crap, or I hear a dog barking in the background or whatever, yeah, like that stuff you can learn from. But if people just don't like you, they just don't like you. I don't know what to say. I'm taking my little honey stuff for my throat. This is Voice 37. Backstage concern, front stage results. Focus. Alright, enough of this bullshit. Let's get going. Warbots, Chapter 20. I recorded a whole other reading, and then I fumbled so much that I said no. I'm not going to put this on YouTube. Oh, man. Why? Here we go. Would help if I record. I mean, my goal someday is to be able to get through a friggin' like half a page without stumbling. It's good to have goals, right? I watch these guys who do this for a living, and it's impressive. And they impress me every day and kind of give me, and I know not everyone's perfect. People fumble and everything. People have their off days, but it's just like, man, you know. Someday I'll be a Travis Baldry. Someday I'll be a Joe Hempel. Someday I'll be a Matt Godfrey. All right. Here we go. Much love to those guys, by the way. They're awesome, and they've been a huge help to me. Here we go. Warts, Chapter 20. Move this over so I don't see my face. Here we go. Chapter 20. Hassan had been truly enjoying himself for the first time. See? Ka-cling! Take a drink. Hassan had been truly enjoying himself for the first time in his 12 years. He discovered that these... You just have to laugh at yourself. He discovered that these people weren't going to hurt him. They'd killed Muhammad, but Hassan had considered the older man a fool. He was secretly glad that Muhammad would no longer boss him around. Okay. I need to start with the biggest thing I need to stop doing is just kind of second guessing myself, just kind of plow ahead. If something doesn't sound right when I listen back to it or when it's in the edit, then I can change it. But I need to just kind of trust my instincts and just kind of go. And that's one of the biggest things I'm learning is to just do that. Be comfortable with my narration. It's going to take time. And it's going to take longer than usual because I'm doing this, only a couple hours a day. I'm not in here all day long trying to, pumping out books. And I'm going to double check. Kuwait Tafton. Kuwait Tafton. Kuwait Tafton. Kuwait Tafton. Kuwait Tafton. And to the slave boy. To the slave boy. Boss him around. And to the slave boy from the slopes of Kuwait Tafton. Kuwait Tafton? Crap. Kuwait Tafton. Kuwait Tafton. And to the slave boy from the slopes of Kuwait Tafton. Kuwait Tafton? Kuwait Tafton. Kuwait Tafton. It's going to stick in my brain one of these days. I'll remember this, like, when I'm done recording this and it's all done. I'm going to wake up in the middle of the night and, I'll be able to say, Kuwait Tafton. Kuwait Tafton. With no trouble. But as I'm recording it, of course, I always stumble over it. To the slave boy from the slopes of Kuwait Tafton, the standard lot of the U.S. Navy swabby was royal treatment, because even the Spartan amenities of the McCain recalled to him folk legends of riches. My voice cracked on slopes of Kuwait Tafton. I tell you. All right, here we go. And to the slave boy from the slopes of Kuwait Tafton, the standard lot of the... God damn it. Kuwait Tafton. The standard lot of the U.S. Navy swabby was royal treatment, because even the Spartan amenities of the McCain recalled to him folk legends of the riches of kinds and princes. Some weird phrasing there. The standard lot of the U.S. Navy swabby was royal treatment, because even the riches of king, that's supposed to be kings, not kinds. Son of a bitch. There we go. Kings and princes. See, I should have caught this in the prep. Really screwed myself with trying to rush the prep on this one. So, here we go. It was royal treatment, because even the Spartan amenities of the McCain recalled to him folk legends of the was royal treatment, because even the Spartan amenities of the McCain recalled to him folk legends of the riches of kings and princes. The existence of indoor plumbing wasn't a novelty. He'd seen it in Zahedan, though it was something of a luxury even there. What impressed him most even there. What impressed him most was the extreme cleanliness of the McCain, the freshly laundered sheets, the soft beds, swabbed decks, the absence of dirt and grime, and the food. It was apparent from ship's security records that Hassan had spent a lot of time looking at TV. Run out of breath. The food, am I right? The food. It was apparent from I want to say the food. It was apparent from ship's security records that Hassan had spent a lot of time looking at TV. He was fascinated to He was fascinated to learn the words he'd never imagined. Worlds, not words. He was fascinated. He was fascinated to learn of worlds he'd never... Fascinated. He was fascinated. He was fascinated to learn of worlds he'd never imagined. He watched children's shows, adult shows. No, he watched children. That's a statement. He watched... never imagined. He watched children's shows. He watched children's... Why can't I talk tonight? He watched children's shows. Adult shows bored him after a few minutes. They were beyond his comprehension. But Hassan had learned much from TV, and he'd added things up in his mind. Mahmoud was dead, and he didn't have to worry about him any longer. Mahmoud was dead. Mahmoud was dead, and he didn't have to worry about him any longer. But Captain Carson seemed very reluctant to take him any longer. But Captain Carson seemed very reluctant to take over as Hassan's slave master. And these people didn't have slaves. Hassan didn't really understand personal freedom, but he was getting a taste of it, and he liked it. He didn't want to go back to Baluchistan. That's weird. Sometimes some of these words, like, I hear like this high-pitched come out of when I say words from my lungs. It's like I have pop this open so it doesn't start whistling. It's like I have like a dog whistle stuck in my lungs or something. So weird. And that's something that, like, if I didn't have the headphones, I would miss. So I don't know. Stuff like that I gotta stop for, because I just can't. If I'm listening back to this and it's published and I hear like these weird metallic squeaks from my freaking voice box, no. He didn't want to go back to Baluchistan. Zahedan, and the volcanic slopes of Kuwait-Tofton. He didn't want to go back to Baluchistan, Zahedan. He didn't want to go back to Baluchistan, Zahedan, and He didn't want to go back to Baluchistan, Zahedan, and the volcanic... He didn't want to go back to Baluchistan, Zahedan, and the volcanic slopes of Ku'e-Taftan. 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 Burps, they happen. He didn't want... Good Lord, this is awful. He didn't want... He didn't want to go back to... Gosh dang it, this sentence. He didn't want to go back to Baluchistan, Zahedan, and the volcanic slopes of Ku'e-Taftan. See what I mean? I get caught up on these words. Baluchistan, Zahedan, and the volcanic slopes of Ku'e-Taftan. He didn't want to go... He didn't want to go back to Baluchistan, Zahedan, and the volcanic slopes of Ku'e-Taftan. Zahedan. Go back to Baluchistan, Zahedan, and the volcanic slopes of Ku'e-Taftan. He wanted to become part of this miraculous. He wanted to become part of this He wanted to become part of the miraculous world in which he now found himself. Let's try that again. He wanted to become part of the miraculous world in which he now... Miraculous. He wanted to become... He wanted to become part of the miraculous world in which he now found himself. But how could he do it? He'd been trained by Mahmud as a... Mahmud. How could he do it? He'd been trained by Mahmud as a merchant trader. Was a merchant trader. No. Escape. And record. Merchant trader. He could thank his former master. He could thank his former master for that much. He'd use what he'd learned. He needed to figure out this new world he was in. He decided he decided he could do that too. And he decided he'd been selling what he'd... Here we go. Do that too. And he decided he'd been selling... Do that too. And he decided he'd been selling what he had too cheaply. Lieutenants Morgan and Allen decided on... Lieutenants Morgan and Allen decided that their approach to Hassan would be different from Kurt's. Let's slow my words together. Shut up time. Lieutenants Morgan and Allen decided that their approach to Hassan would be different from Kurt's. Allen suggested that they act as they would on a public relations visit to an elementary school. Allen suggested that they act as they would on a public relations visit to an elementary school. Going too fast. Slow down. Allen suggested that they act as they would on a public relations visit to an elementary... Good God Almighty. Allen suggested that they act as they would on a public relations visit to an elementary school. On a public relations visit to an elementary school. Presenting the United States Armed Forces... Ugh, good God Almighty. To an elementary school. Right? That's how they would act. To an elementary school. presenting the United States Armed Forces in terms of adventure. Blah. Presenting the United States Armed Forces in terms of adventure, excitement, and protectiveness, things which could be understood even by the youngest child. The purpose of such school visits, of course, was to motivate young people to plan on making careers in the armed services. They showed Hassan the videotape, "Robots Fight for Your Freedom," in the Arabic language version. In the Arabic language version. For your freedom. In the Arabic language version. Fight for your freedom. In the Arabic language version. Frankly, the tape almost made the two young officers gag. The motivational material was so... gag. The motivational material... Gag. The motivational material was too primitive. I'm getting rid of kind of material. The motivational material was so primitive and so corny. So corny. The motivational material was so primitive and so corny that they felt far above it. Neither of them remembered that years ago. Neither of them remembered that years ago they'd each seen... Neither of them remembered that years ago they'd each seen a similar videotape which had convinced them that someday they would be soldiers. And neither could have traced, of course, this idea to the point of application. I said of course instead of the course. If I catch this stuff now, less pickups later, right? And neither could have traced the course of this idea to the point of application. And neither could have traced the course of this idea to the point of application for admission to West Point. Georgie didn't have to translate. Although Hassan spoke Baluchi primarily, he was fluent in Arabic as well. Alright. That's enough I'm going to do for videotaping because I need to buckle down and just knock this shit out. But here's been another window into the booth. All the, this is just how it is with me right now. And then someday I will come on here and I will regale you with full tales of narration for you who give a crap about watching this. Hope it's fun. I always say this. I need to get confident and just kind of own it, right? I do. I know what I need to do. So so that's it. So Warbots should be done by the end of the week. I'm kind of kicking these over to my editor as I'm going here, and so I should get those back. I'm assuming this weekend, maybe next week. Then I'll most likely have some pickups to do, flubbed words or glitches or whatever, and I'll do those. And then in a few weeks this thing will be out to retail, and then I'll be starting the Brain Eaters, which I'm super stoked to start. It's a 1985 horror novel by Gary Bradner, who of course got his fame as he wrote the Howling books, which of course the first one was made into a movie. Not sure if the second Howling went forward with the plot from the books. I don't think it did. Sorry, I'm like my dinner is like. Come on, focus. I gotta turn this autofocus off. That's the thing here. I'm in this booth trying to record, and my dinner is going. Wanting to come out. So, like I said, long sign off. Hope you guys dig this stuff I'm doing. And you guys have a great rest of your evening or day or whatever. So, bye.